I'm Johnny Scoville, and this is Chase the Heat. Got a fun review today. Well, pay attention to the weather. I promise you, at the end of this video, it's not going to be like it is right now. The weather's changing like on a dime. It was just beautiful a few minutes ago. Got a great goatee day today. Do you know what? I don't have hair. There's no good or bad hair days, but I got goatee days, and today's a good one. Hope you're having a great day. Got a great review today from a sauce company, one of my favorites of all time, and you want to stick around because there is a promo code for this. Love you guys. It's from Hellfire hot sauce. Man, I'm telling you, if nothing, I'm consistent. If you go back to the very beginning, I've been saying to you from the beginning, this is one of my favorite companies. It's a chili head company. Next day, you pay. Nothing like a little truth in advertising. I love that. Next day, you pay. Now, let me read this to you. You might say, you know, Johnny, why would I pay the next day? Let me talk to you about this. The next day you pay. This bottle is filled with pure pepper goodness. And listen, I know the owners of this company. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. Listen to what's in here. Buchalokia. It's your ghost pepper. 7-Pot Primo. Trinidad Scorpion, Red Habanero, Orange Habanero, Red Jalapeno, and a little cayenne tossed in there. It's sure to please your palate and your desire for heat. It's an award-winning recipe. People, it's vegan and gluten-free. Insert your dad joke there. All right. Now, let me show you something interesting. Pretty big letters, right? I'm not complaining, but big letters. See that? That's the ingredient list. So, I'm going to read you the ingredients. Now, being that Merle is a rock and roll guy, because he is, at the end of the video, we're going to conclude our top grossing albums of all time, rock and roll albums of all time. Kind of excited about that. Here are the ingredients. Distilled vinegar, cayenne pepper mash, which is cayenne peppers and salt. We have water, garlic, sun-dried tomatoes. I love that in their sauce. They use it a lot. Jolokia pepper mash. It's your ghost pepper mash, which is just ghost peppers, salt. Red 7-Pot Primo pepper mash, which is 7-Pot Primo pepper mash and vinegar. Red habanero pepper mash, which is red habanero peppers and salt. Orange habanero pepper mash, which is orange habanero peppers and salt. Cilantro, red jalapeno pepper mash, red jalapenos and salt. Trinidad Scorpion pepper mash, Trinidad Scorpion peppers and salt. Diced tomatoes, which is tomato juice and salt. Some salt in there also. Cumin, onions, coriander, which is cilantro and coriander, the same thing. One is someone will explain. They're the same thing. But coriander, curry powder, spices, turmeric, salt, contains mustard, lemon juice, and lime juice. The reason I read that big list of ingredients, I'm telling you, it's like all sauce makers are artists. And if you try to imagine all those flavors as paint, all right? Every one of those different ingredients as paint on a palette, and you gave them to an artist and said, paint something. That's what artists do, you know? And no artist with paint would create the same thing. And just won't. You're not gonna. And just like that, sauce makers are the same way. So if I literally could send that list of ingredients to 100 different sauce makers and just say, you know, just somehow assemble this so it's delicious, none of them would taste the same. It's pretty amazing. I love that about it. Beautiful consistency. I'm also going to respond to a bunch of emails about pepper season, so make sure you stick around to the end. Great. I needed that on my nose. Very, very pepper-forward aroma. This is one of those sauces that when you smell it, you're just like, okay. You know what I mean? There's a lot of pepper in this. And it smells strong. The wind is really picking up. I'm sorry, I had this wind chime kind of tied up. They didn't do the one down there. Sorry about that. Here's the pour, people. All right. from Hellfire hot sauce. Next day you pay. I'm Johnny Scoville, and this is Chase the Heat. You hear things like songs and it brings you back. Olfactory is that way. You can smell something and it will rifle you back to a moment in time. The taste of this did the same thing with me. I remember the first time I tasted this. I don't know if I've reviewed this. I think I may have. I love this sauce. It reminded me. One thing that's spectacular, the texture is great. Super great pepper flavor. Now, when you have all these different peppers, none of them, you're not going to be able to identify any of them. You're not going, they all taste great, but boy, that ghost stands out. They're going to all combine to a beautiful, it makes something special, you know? Great pepper flavor. It's just, it's all a pepper. That's really what it is. The cilantro, the coriander is great. Cumin's great. But really, it all comes together, and it's just a delightful sauce. Now, the next day you pay, why would that happen? Well, here's why that would happen. Because what happens is we get to a place, the tolerance in our mouth, to, you know, how much heat we can take in our mouth, that tolerance does grow relatively quickly, okay? But the tolerance in your stomach grows a lot slower. Now, a lot of times people can go out and whether they don't even think tolerance, they eat something, and even though it's really hot, they're like, I can take it. And they aren't thinking, what is this gonna do to my stomach later? We've all done it as chili heads. Sometimes it's completely unknowing. Sometimes you're starting to climb the ladder and you're on Friends, you're eating wings, watching a game. They're like, dude, I can't believe you can eat those. Yeah, give me more. Next day you pay. Well, that's why you might pay the next day, which is dovetailing me into the emails that I've been getting, a lot of them. So, and I get a lot, if I haven't responded, I'm sorry, I'm getting to them. But there are at least a dozen emails in the last 2 weeks. People saying, what's the best way that I can increase my tolerance? Because pepper season is coming. A couple of them even talked about the fact that they wanted to taste more, which I thought was brilliant. The reason you want to increase your tolerance is not to win a contest. I mean, how many people are in contests? But the higher your tolerance gets, the more you're able to taste and the more flavors and little subtle nuances in a pepper and in sauces that you're going to taste that if your tolerance is low, you won't. Let me explain real quick. If your tolerance is low, and I've said this in a lot of videos, you can find it at the end of the video right there in Pepperology, but if your tolerance is very low, your window of opportunity to taste a pepper is like that short because very quickly you're overrun with pain. And it's like, you can't, once you're in pain, you can't say, all right, I'm in pain, but let's kind of put the pain on the back burner so I can talk about so I can kind of explore the flavors here. Our brains don't work like that. All right. So if you have a higher tolerance, that window you aren't overcome by pain, so you're tasting flavors. I've done videos where I talk about certain pods, and I'll taste fruitiness or smokiness, or subtle little nutty flavors, or almost notes of coffee. And people will say like, "You're a liar, man. I ate one of those peppers. I didn't taste any of those things." It's because your tolerance is low. We hear people, we've all heard people say, I don't like heat for the sake of heat. Well, that's a referendum on that. That's all about their tolerance, more so is the sauce they're talking about. Because if you have zero tolerance of pepper, a jalapeno is hot for the sake of hot. You can't even taste that, you know what I mean? So if you want to increase you want to taste more this pepper season. You want to be able to experiment and try with new peppers. Here's the thing, every time I do a pepper video, someone will say, where can I get that pepper? In every pepper video, in the description box is a link to the grower, so you can get those peppers too. So if you want to taste more this season and try different peppers that you aren't able to now, you can do a lot in one season. Start now though, start building your tolerance now. And these are one of the best ways you can build your tolerance. I'm being honest with you, it's not just a sales thing. Obviously I do this for a living, but you know what? If you've used these to increase your tolerance, in the comment section, please say so. And if you're on the fence, read the comments. These are Tubes of Terror made by Blazing Foods. These are peanuts and these are corn nuts, and they're ridiculously hot, for real. If you eat 1 or 2 of these a day, 1 or 2 of these a day, or a couple times a day even, by the time that tube is empty, your tolerance will have raised so much, I promise you, that here's a great way to do it. Get a jalapeno or get a sauce that's on the little upper edge of what you can tolerate, or even something that you're used to. Taste it, write it down, what it tastes like. Start eating 1 or 2 of these a day. And when the tube is gone, go back to the thing that you tasted at the beginning, that you wrote down what it tasted like, be it a pepper, sauce, or whatever. And then do it again. Write down what you taste and how you taste it, and compare the two. You won't believe it. Compare what the heat is. On day 1, before you start, say this is a jalapeno is a 7 for me. You eat 2 of these a day. When the tube is gone, and I don't mean both of them. You can do one or the other. You don't need to do both. But like, you just get this and do a peanut a day, 1 or 2 a day. When the tube of terror is empty, eat that thing again and see what it scale on the 1 to 10 scale. It's going to be shockingly different for you, and it's going to really prepare you for pepper season. Now, so that's to answer a whole bunch of emails in one question. Now, let's finish up with the greatest rock and roll albums, grossing albums of all time. All right? And you know what? I'll tell you what. It's so great that we're doing Hellfire, because Merle is a big Led Zeppelin fan, big Jimmy Page fan. And Merle is an amazing guitarist, by the way. And I bought several guitars from Merle. I love Merle. But being that he's a Led Zeppelin fan, Led Zeppelin 4, from 1971, 24 million copies sold. Technically, Led Zeppelin's celebrated 4th album is untitled, okay? But has traditionally been referred to as Led Zeppelin 4. Worldwide, it's the band's best-selling album on a global scale, with more than an estimated 37 million sold worldwide. The record consists of 8 songs, and arguably all but one, and it's no offense, they say, to 4 Sticks, which is the song they're talking about, are among the band's undisputed classics. They're really right. It's true. Black Dog is one of the best album openers ever. What a great song. If you're saying Black Dog, if you've never heard Led Zeppelin Black Dog, or if you've never listened to Led Zeppelin 4, please go listen to it. But rock and roll, Misty Mountain Hop, just amazing. When the Levee Breaks, and obviously the most recognizable song is Stairway to Heaven. That's an unbelievable album. Sorry about that. Getting attacked by a mosquito. Next, all these are among my favorites, but this one really is, like if you got stuck on an island, you had to take 5 albums, and that was it. This is one of them. Back in Black, AC/DC from 1980, 25 million copies. And following the death of Bon Scott, with new cigarette-stained vocals from singer Brian Johnson in tow, AC/DC delivered one of the all-time records amid serious adversity. That's one of the things you have to think about. Bon Scott, I love Bon Scott, man. I really, really do. He's one of those characters, one of those super strong frontmen that when that person goes, it's also like, we're done. Pack it up. But Brian Johnson, who was a roadie, if you didn't know that, he was a roadie for them. He goes, I think I can do that. Brian Johnson stepped in. True to Scott, the record featured a more mature AC/DC sound thanks to brilliant production of Robert Mutt Lang, but was still an unabashed celebration of the way Scott would have wanted things to go. The title track, Hell's Bells, Shoot to Thrill, Rocking, and Rock Licking, You Shook Me All Night Long are just a few of the highlights from an album that is the epitome of all killer, no filler. That was one of my favorite albums to work out to. I'd bike on it, on a stationary bike, and the rhythm, the beat of I would pedal to match the beat, and I'm telling you, amazing. What an amazing album. But if you think about the fact that Bon Scott had had passed, and that's the first one with him, talk about just gutsy album, just not hitting it out of the park. I've met people that didn't know that AC/DC that they had somebody before Brian. Anyway, the next one is such a classic, it's unreal. Hotel California by the Eagles, and that was from 1975. 26 million copies sold. Hotel California is more than just a legendary title track. It's arguably the Eagles' most celebrated studio album and was nominated for an Album of the Year Grammy, which it lost to the aforementioned Rumors we spoke earlier in a previous video from Fleetwood Mac. However, the new kid in town that song, won the same award for the best arrangement of voices, and the title track took home the record for the year Grammy. Not to mention, Life in the Fast Lane includes a major contribution from Joe Walsh, who made his Eagles debut on that album. If you didn't know that, that was the first album that Joe Walsh appeared on. The Last Resort is one of the band's most underrated tracks, and Hotel California went #1 in 7 different countries. Now, on my birthday, it was the Hell Freezes Over tour. I think I was 30-something, a long time ago. That was a great album, a great tour. And the reason they did that, they broke up. It was a famous breakup. And they said at one point, they asked one of them, I think it was Joe Walsh, they said, "Are you ever going to get together?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure we will, when Hell Freezes Over." Well, as it happened, it froze over. No, what really happened is they, they matured, and maybe it's just the case they needed some more money. I don't know. But they matured and they kind of worked their deals out, and they got together, and the Hell Freezes Over tour. And my brother took me there on my birthday, July 6th. Melissa Etheridge warmed him up. She played for like an hour and a half as a warm-up band. Melissa Etheridge opened up with "Come Through My Window," and it was just hair-raising. It was just, I'm a big fan of both, But when the Eagles came out, true story, I'm sitting next to Tommy, front row. I could spit on the stage. I mean, it was that close. And they came out and opened with Hotel California. I looked at my brother, and I know he was thinking the same thing I was thinking. Like every other band on the face of the earth would close with something like that. But the Eagles came out and opened with it. Oh, man, I had goosebumps. It was unreal. That was one of the greatest concerts I ever saw. They played all of the Eagles' greatest stuff, all of Glenn Frey's greatest stuff, all of Don Henley's greatest stuff, all of Joe Walsh's great. They played for hours. Just amazing. Anyway, and we're almost done. We have 2 more, and we're done. Let me see. Hang on a minute. This is interesting. All right, and number 2, the second biggest grossing album of all time is Thriller, Michael Jackson, 1982, with 34 million copies. Now, I believe these are just U.S. copies. These are just U.S. copies, but they sold more internationally. But you're thinking to yourself, a lot of you are thinking, I would have thought Thriller would have been the #1. You're thinking, what's the #1 album? We'll get to that in a second. When it comes to international album sales, Thriller reigns supreme, okay? With an estimated 70 million copies sold. That's insane. But in the U.S., it does remain #2. But still, from start to finish, is one of the greatest pop rock records ever released. It arrived when pop radio was still relevant. And MTV was about to explode with classics like Billie Jean, Beat It, and the title cut, Thriller, obviously. Jackson showed that a successful pop song could be even more popular with the right music video. Michael Jackson was a special entertainer well before he released Thriller. However, none of the 4 previous solo albums were released during the MTV era. So this essentially turned him into a worldwide phenom and icon. He really is, boy, it was amazing. All right, you want to know what #1? The #1 grossing U.S. album in the United States? You ready? They were they were often referred to as the U.S. Beatles, the Beatles from the U.S. The Eagles. The Eagles' greatest hits from 1976, 38 million copies. Yep, that's right. When it comes to the album sales in the U.S., the Eagles' collection of favorites and timeless classics remains #1. Spanning the Eagles' first 4 studio albums, it was the first to receive platinum status by RIAA. The record also spent more than 230 weeks on the Billboard's 200, thanks to gems like Take It Easy, Already Gone, Desperado, One of Those Nights. Its overall success can partially be credited to the Eagles' overall crossover appeal spanning the rock and the country genres. Those tunes are still played on traditional radio stations to this day. When Tommy and I saw them, they did Seven Bridges Row. And I'll tell you something. That was insane. Just an amazing thing. The very last song that they played, I've said this on video before. It was really beautiful. They played all their solo stuff, all the Eagles stuff. I mean, it was just, man, if you like the Eagles, it was just an unbelievable day of music. But at the end, Joe Walsh came out, and he was wearing a styrofoam cowboy hat. If anybody happens to watch this and you were there, please back me up. It was beautiful. But this styrofoam cowboy hat was like 15 feet tall. It really was. It made him look like a cartoon character because this giant hat, it made him look this big. But he came out with this giant cowboy hat on. Before he played the last song, he said, I just want to stop for a second and thank God for music. Because if it wasn't for music, what would a bum like me do? And it was beautiful. And what he did was he came out and he played an instrumental of Amazing Grace. And I think it was really funny. Tommy and I knew instantaneously what song that was. But I could tell that there were people that didn't. That were wondering for the first few notes, like, what in the world is he playing? It was beautiful. Anyway, that wraps it up. Now, I think for those of you who waited, I hope you did. Ready for your promo code? You type in Chase the Heat in the promo code, and you're going to save 10%, not just on this sauce, but on any sauce from Hellfire Hot Sauce. It's an amazing company. And if you haven't tried them, please do yourself. Don't do me any favors. Listen, I know all their sauces, but boy, if you're a chili head and you kind of got the bug and you're like, oh, I want to try different things. Even though they're a chili head company, they really are, there's sauces that anybody can eat. If you're not a chili head, this is going to be a beyond 10. This is going to be problematic for you. If you're a chili head, this is a 7 and up. There'll be people that will say it's a 6, but Hellfire has stuff for anybody. They have, mild sauces to double doomed. So they have, which is 4.5 million. So they have some mild stuff, some super hot stuff, but use promo code Chase the Heat. Save yourself 10%. Thank you, Hellfire, for doing that for all the riders on the bus. I appreciate you and love you. A happy Easter, everybody. One more time, in the description box, you're going to see the link for Hellfire. Use promo code Chase the Heat. Right there is my son, Johnny Scoville Jr. Please check his channel out. It's beautiful. He's doing a great job. I'm very proud of him. Right there is my brother, Tommy Scoville, and his channel is a Lifeboat, so please check that out. Right there is all the challenges I've done. Right here is Pepperology for all you new chili heads. I love you guys. I'm Johnny Scoville, and this was Chase the Heat.